Thank you for watching us on YouTube. But did you know that if you're on the go, you can get the full show as a podcast now? You can get our morning breakdown of the most important topics facing our country, news not being covered by the mainstream media, interviews with change-making progressives, and info on what you can actually do about all this. Search for The Damage Report on your favorite podcast app and subscribe so you know when new episodes are ready to go. Kavanaugh put forward his calendar, and the reason that he did that was to show that this attack couldn't possibly have happened because kids only party on the weekend, and he was busy on the weekend. He was like working out and stuff in the afternoons during weekdays, so he can't do anything after that.
He do even lift, bro.
He does lift, bro, GTL. But the thing is, when he put forward that calendar, it had an interesting detail that's leading many people to believe, I don't know, maybe this is still controversial to say, but there is very good evidence to believe that the attack that Dr. Ford talks about didn't just happen, but it happened on a particular date, July 1st, 1982, a date that is on his calendar, where it says, go to Timmy's for skis with Judge, Tom, PJ, Bernie, Squee. Man, those are some 80s names there. So an event like that happened. He was asked about this during his testimony, and he made clear that this was an informal gathering of people getting together to drink. Now, multiple of those people in that guest list, I guess, are referenced in Dr. Ford's allegations of what happened. He continued, though, with his defense of saying nothing like what she said could have possibly happened, even though we've identified an event exactly like she said. So other important contextual information, she had said that 6 to 8 weeks after the assault, she saw Mark Judge working at a store in the area. Mark Judge has written a book, and he says that in early to mid-August, he was working at a store in the area. So it fits the time frame. By the way, another interesting point, Squee is Chris Garrett. That was confirmed by Kavanaugh in his testimony. It is believed that Chris Garrett was dating Ford at the time. And they keep making a big thing of, well, how did she even get there? He says that he didn't know her. Why would she even be at the party? Well, if a guy that she was seeing at the time had been at the party, that would be a reason why she might have been there as well. And then you add the things to the side, like why would she, put Mark Judge there? Why is she making specific references to friends of Kavanaugh's when Kavanaugh says that none of them even knew her to begin with? How did she know about exactly who was hanging out in parties at the exact same time that she's saying they were together? Remember, she didn't have access to this calendar. She only has access to her memory, a memory that seems incredibly accurate after 36 years.
Especially in go find the layout of this house. Go find.
Well, no, people have already started to identify possible houses, including one was Mark Judge's grandmother has a house in this area, and supposedly the layout is consistent with how she has described.
Leahy, in his testimony, in his final statement today, said Mark Judge, who has answers. Oh, I'm sorry that he went through like an addictive phase, but like he has answers, and he's effectively put a do not disturb sign on his house. And the people who want this information that you just outlined are not saying anything but, let's go get this information. That's what's so frustrating about it.
Well, yeah, one of the Republican senators said, we can't bring him in. It's incredibly disrespectful to a man who has gone through problems of addiction.
One of the people today, I forget who it is, it's just generic senator man, was like, if we do this, this is not the country I want to live in. It's not a good country for men. Young men or middle-aged men. No, it was another one.
Oh, really?
Lindsey Graham, his statement is fascinating. You should watch it because he makes this weird long statement about how he is going to remember this moment when Grassley's gone and he's the head of this committee.
Well, we'll see about that. I think he's up for re-election the next cycle, by the way. So maybe if you lived in that state, think about running. But again, and so this was brought up, by the way. Pema Levy tweeted, Senator Whitehouse held up Kavanaugh's calendar, points to July 1st, 1982, and says this may be powerful corroborating evidence. We might never know inside of the Senate because they're trying to rush this thing through as fast as possible. And unfortunately, aside from Cory Booker briefly, there wasn't a lot of questions from the Democrats about this particular date. But what's interesting, this is so fascinating. So you might recall they had a veteran sex crimes prosecutor ask Dr. Ford all of the questions for the Republicans. And then when it comes to Kavanaugh, he starts getting questions from the Democrats, and on the Republicans' turns, it's the veteran sex crimes prosecutor. But you might recall, at some point, she no longer is asking the questions and the Republicans take over. Do you remember exactly when that happened, actually? Do you know what the last subject she asked about was? This July 1st party. She asked questions about that. Then it went to Dick Durbin, her time ran out. Dick Durbin started asking questions, and then Lindsey Graham lost his top, exploded. And suddenly, the Republicans were all asking their own questions. They did not allow Mitchell to do any more questioning of Kavanaugh. That is incredibly suspicious. Incredibly. What sort of coincidence are we supposed to believe that is?
Yeah, and it was, they just jumped on the grenade, it seemed. And then themselves blew up. And then another thing the White House said is he held up the statement that he's like, this ridiculous vague statement from Mark Judge. Would investigator Kavanaugh have been fine with this in the Monica Lewinsky scandal? And then another thing that Ricky actually pointed out for people who are fans of sports, like Kavanaugh, who Leahy points out lied about his involvement in various investigations in the past, like lied. Kavanaugh was working under Ken Starr. Ken Starr, who was in charge of investigating sexual assault allegations at Baylor and just got fired because, for people who follow football, Baylor essentially got the death penalty because they were hiding sexual assault allegations over there. So the pupil becomes the master, and then everyone else is doing an impression of the exact same things that have been happening, not just under Ken Starr, under Kavanaugh, but since the Anita Hill case.
Yeah, so this obviously, for anyone who is either actually interested in what happened or at least wants to give the image that they're interested, there is no way that you cannot pursue more information about this July 1st party, considering that so many of the specific details that are verifiable, point to the possibility that this is when and where that attack actually happened. Now, unfortunately, this is it for our Kavanaugh coverage for the day and for the week. It's the end of the week. And they're expecting that they're gonna have the full Senate vote on tomorrow. So it might be that the next time we're in studio, we will have a new Supreme Court justice or not. Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.